This is an urgent appeal from the Disasters Emergency Committee. Hundreds of thousands of people have fled their homes to escape conflict in Ukraine, leaving jobs, belongings and loved ones behind. They need shelter, food and water. You can help. To donate online, search DEC or text radio to 70150 to give £10. Thank you.
Streaming 24/7, this is Brum Radio.
Thank you for downloading this Brum Radio podcast. For more podcasts, visit brumradio.com.
I'm joined on the telephone by Daniel Casey, who is playing Professor Plum in Cluedo, which is at the Alexandra from the 2nd of May until the 7th of May. And it's part of a tour, UK tour, which is on until the 23rd of July. Good afternoon, Daniel. How are you?
I'm very well. How are you?
I'm not bad at all today. I'm really excited that Cluedo is coming as a stage play to Birmingham and particularly to the Alexandra. I know that the script is based on the film Clue. How similar to Clue do you feel that it is?
It's quite similar in the trajectory of the story, but obviously we've anglicised it, so it's all set in England. So it's not an American production. So all the references have been changed, so it's an English production. So it's set in 1949. It's set after the Second World War, and all of these people have a different secret to hide, and they're being blackmailed by people for things they've done. So it's set in the backdrop of the Linsky Tribunal, which is something that happened in the late 40s to root out corruption in the government. And so, but apart from that, it's very similar. It's been directed by Mark Bell, who was the director of The Play That Goes Wrong and those productions. So it's got that kind of high octane, very physical, comedic feel to it.
I watch. This is an unusual position for me because I watch the film Clue on a I'm going to say a fairly regular basis.
Right.
It's something that I adored as a kid. It's something that I really like watching now as an adult, and the jokes make sense in such a different way when you're an adult watching it.
Of course they do. Had
you ever seen the film itself before? What was your first exposure to that?
I don't know whether I have seen it before. I've watched a few little clips, but when I got the part, I didn't want to watch it because I don't want to. I mean, I'm a huge fan of Christopher Lloyd, and so I don't want to have him in my head certainly when I was creating the character. I mean, I could probably watch it now, but so a friend of mine, it's his favourite film.
Yes.
So there's a lot of pressure when he's coming to come and see it in Brighton later in the year. So, but it's brilliant. I mean, you've got Tim Curry, who's just a legend.
Yeah.
And that cast is fantastic. So, but I think when you come and see it, you'll love it. It's really high octane. It's really fun. I mean, the rehearsal process. Mark was really keen for us for it to be a collaborative process for us to create this world together. So we kind of we rehearsed, we improvised around the characters a lot for the first few days, and so to find the language of this world, to find the physical language of this world, that was one of the things I was really keen to work with him for, was for his kind of clowning knowledge and to really tap into that, because it's something I haven't really. I mean, I've done lots of comedy, but that kind of really large physical comedy is really fascinating to learn, because it's all about truth. Even though things are large and it's a very physical piece, it's very truthful, and you have to be truthful, and that's why it works. You inhabit the world that they live in, and so that, but within that, it's all rooted in truth.
One of the because the screenplay is written by Jonathan Lynn, who I think of from being Yes Minister and Yes Prime Minister. There's quite a sense of Britishness in the idea of Clue and Cluedo itself. Did you say that vein runs through it? Was that something that stuck out from the start in terms of what the audience might see from that?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's that classic whodunit, I suppose, and so it is that the kind of Marple-esque thing, and it is the putting those the clues together in order to come to a final conclusion. I think that's very British. I think. Yeah, the comedy within it is again very British, but Clue was an American production, so it's it's difficult to separate the two, really. I think our production, because we've got all those British references back in. I think it does have a very British feel, but again, it feels very modern too. I don't think it's. I think what Mark brings to it and what Anna Healy, our movie director, brings to it is that kind of modern comedy as well that you've got in things like The Play That Goes Wrong and those kind of productions. I did a Yes Prime Minister a couple of years ago, and it was great fun. It's the speed with which the comedy action happens, I think, that makes it particularly British, and that Jonathan Lynn is brilliant at. It's the ability to both confuse at speed and also to keep people on their toes at speed. I think that's what he writes brilliantly.
One of my reviewers came to see Abigail's Party, and they saw that at the Alexandra a few years ago.
Yep.
And you were featured in that production of Abigail's Party.
Yep.
She really enjoyed seeing your performance within that role. She was really positive about that production as a whole as well. How does it feel to be coming back to Birmingham, to be on stage here? Is this a city that you've been to regularly in terms of stage work yourself?
Yeah, I mean, it's a really special city for me, actually, because Abigail's Party was wonderful. I played Lawrence, and in the film, when you see him in the film, he's tiny, he's small and everything. And then when Sarah Estelle, our director, auditioned me and cast me, she was struggling to find someone bigger than me, because I'm 6'2", to play the part. And Mike Lee had said to her, "What's the problem?" She said, "Well, he's 6'2", and there's the bit where they talk about him being physically smaller than Tony." And he said, "Well, I'll just rewrite it." And he did, and he rewrote that little bit for the play, and he doesn't do that usually. And so that felt like such a. I mean, it made me feel so proud that he would do that. But it was a lovely production, and I was really proud of it. It was gorgeous, and being in Birmingham was amazing. But when my little boy, who's now 15, Rafferty, was born, I was doing a play at the Rep Theatre, and Ellie was pregnant at the time, and we, being first-time parents, we thought that he would be born on his due date, and obviously he wasn't. And they gave me permission to miss some rehearsals, but he didn't come in the rehearsal period. So he started to come on press night.
Oh my goodness me! Okay.
I was driving back and forwards from Birmingham for 2 days, and then actually commuted back and forth to London every day for the production. But and he was born at 1:30 on the Saturday morning. So I left on the Friday night. Left on the Thursday night. Was there all day. He didn't come. Drove back. Nearly missed the show because I got there about 10 minutes before curtain up on the Friday. Did the show. Drove back on the Friday night, and then at 1:30 in the morning on Saturday morning, he was born. And then I drove back to Birmingham that next day to do two shows the next day. So Birmingham is inextricably linked with my family, so it's always been a really special place for me.
That's a really wonderful memory to be able to connect to the city as well for when you're here.
Yeah,
and just having that happen around here is just what a wonderful thing to have as well. Did you know that Cluedo was invented by someone who was from Birmingham? The actual board game, even though the house in Cluedo is not is not based on a Birmingham house, that the actual board game itself was a Brummie that had made the board game. Was that something that you had been previously made? aware of?
I didn't know that, but I did know that John Waddington, the factory that made Cluedo, was in Leeds, where we were a few weeks ago, and so that got a huge response.
Wow.
Yeah, and Jodie Prenger, I think she said something about this, that there's a house that she's bought that John Waddington stayed at, and I think may have been one of the inspirations for the house in the game as well. So there's all sorts
That's
of connections.
so
It's amazing.
Yeah.
So when you do something, it's amazing how many connections that friends and acquaintances come up and tell you about. But that's brilliant that he was from Birmingham.
What's been the response from people to this production? Do you listen to reviews? Do you read those sorts of things, or do you have people tell you what their response is?
Well, I think what I tend to gauge is audience response, because I think that's the truest response. I think I don't read reviews anymore. I just think. I think sometimes if they're really good, they can influence you in a way that you think, oh, I'll do that even more.
Yes.
And that doesn't help. And if you believe the good ones, you've got to believe the bad ones. So I kind of just trust in the work, because you kind of know whether it's good or not when you're doing it. But the audience responses have been absolutely brilliant around the country, and I think what's been fantastic is we get to a city and we have a lovely response, and then the audiences build and build and build throughout the week. So we've got great word of mouth.
Yes.
And I've had loads of lovely people contact me on social media and everything to say thank you for the performances. I tell you what's lovely about it is you can bring everybody to see it. You know, you've had 8-year-olds and 80-year-olds, and there's nothing like hearing the belly laugh of an 8 or 9-year-old child when there's something really silly and funny happening on stage, and they are belly laughing. And that's, most actors, we're used to laughter and everything like that, but the ones that really get you and you think, oh, I mustn't laugh, it's when a little one laughs like that. You hear that lovely belly laugh, and that's what's fantastic about this show.
I think that's absolutely wonderful. And you're right, you don't get many productions that have that kind of age range built into the very fabric of the production itself.
No.
And sometimes I'll be sat there and the audience might be people slightly younger than it's targeted at, and I'm a bit like, oh no, this is maybe not appropriate for them. So it's wonderful that it is that broad range of family experience. Some people might be having their first ever experience of theatre. We were in
Leeds, and we'd done a matinee, and we were just about to cross the road, a group of us from the cast going for something to eat. And this lady stopped us, and she was she was a teacher, and she was with this massive group of school children. She said this is their first experience of the theatre, and they all went, yeah, and they cheered.
Oh, wow.
And that's brilliant. You think, oh, well, that's if one of them just, if some of them keep on going, or one of them thinks, oh, I'd like to do that.
Yeah.
Then that's great. You think, oh God, we've inspired, a new generation of people. So it's wonderful.
I think especially after a huge break in being able to go to the theatre that we've had this past couple of years, I think that's really fantastic, because those kind of memories that I have from being able to have gone to the theatre as a small child, I still remember having done that. I think it's wonderful that they've had that opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. And also particularly at the moment, because we've had the pandemic and people haven't been able to go out, and also with what's happening in Ukraine and everything,
yes.
It's just a fantastic antidote to that, because it is silly, it's funny, and it's just a real beautiful escape from all that darkness. You can sit there in the theatre and watch something that's going to make you laugh and just take you out yourself and be amongst people who are just joyful for an hour and a half. And it's lovely to bring that to the people. Actually, that's one thing that's been unexpected. But also not unexpected. It's funny, but unexpected to think, oh gosh, this has been a real tonic, and that's what we're finding around the country.
That's so exciting. I'm really thrilled that you guys are coming to Birmingham with this. As I say, I'm excited to be coming to see this production, hopefully on the 1st night that it's in Birmingham. You can check out the website, atgtickets.com. Have a look for Alexandra Theatre Birmingham. You can also check out the website for the production, which is cluedostageplay.com. And you can see Daniel Casey playing Professor Plum in this production from the 2nd to the 7th of May, and then the tour continues until the 23rd of July. Daniel, thank you so much for taking the time to chat to us today about this.
Brilliant. Can't wait to come and see you all.
Thank you for listening to this Brum Radio podcast. Don't forget to subscribe and rate us on your podcast app.